welcome back to my channel. It's Izuwani Anita. I am a YouTuber based in Enugu, Nigeria. So today's makeup tutorial is all about how to do your brows on an already sculpted face. So when I say already sculpted, I mean you must have already applied foundation and done your highlights and contour before you start drawing your brows. Now this technique isn't for everybody per se. If you're just a beginner, you're watching my video, I'm still going to do a beginner friendly brow tutorial to show you how to draw your brows on your face as is, that's without foundation and the rest of it. But if you're a makeup artist or you're already used to doing your own makeup, then you might benefit a lot from this tutorial, because when you draw brows on an already sculpted face, your brows have some kind of intense definition and they tend to pop out more. So if you want to learn how to draw your brows on an already sculpted face, please keep watching. I'm going to zoom in now. Okay, so I decided to zoom in so that everyone can see exactly what I'm doing in a closer range. So to do your brows on an already sculpted face, it's the same tools that you need for regular brows. Firstly, you're going to need a brow pencil. Now this brow pencil is from Beautyline by Didi. It's sold for $1.5. I'm going to put all the things I used to do these brows in the description box below, so you might want to check it out. Then you're definitely going to need a concealer, and concealer is to make highlight underneath the brows after you've drawn them. And then you need your shade of foundation to highlight the top of the brow, and you're going to need this is brow tamer. It's instant brow tamer. And then you're going to need a couple of brushes. So this is a concealer brush, and then this brush is for blending out your concealer. So first off, we're going to start with drawing the brows with the brow pencil. So I'm just going to brush upward this way. I'm using because this brow pencil comes with a spoolie at the end, so I'm just using the spoolie to brush it upward. But if your brow pencil doesn't come with a spoolie brushes are really cheap. They are sold for about 100 or 200 naira, so you could just get a separate spoolie brush for that purpose. So now this brow pencil is retractable, meaning that you can roll it up to get what you need. So I'm just going to roll it up. Please, if you have a retractable brow pencil, although I know everybody should know this, you're not supposed to roll it up like this, because if you use it this way, it's going to break. So you just roll it up just a little bit so you can get the pencil out, and then you start drawing. So you draw one line underneath like so. You do it in light strokes. You don't want to make it too harsh, just so that it still looks flawless and effortless. So light strokes, please, people. So when you draw one light stroke underneath down to the end this way, you come up, but you don't start here, because this is the top of the brow. So you leave a little space. You see where I'm starting, and then you start drawing the top. You see that? I'm not going, while editing, I'm going to make sure I don't speed up this process, just so that people can actually learn from this tutorial. So I've done the second part of the brow. As you can see, I've done another stroke upward, and it met with the first stroke at the bottom of the brow. As you can see, my brows ended exactly where the edge of the outer corner of my eye started from. You don't want to make them too long so that they still look natural. So I'll be going back to draw some strokes. So when it's time to draw the strokes, you draw your strokes upward. At the beginning of the brow, you do really light strokes so that you have that ombre effect on your brows. So really light strokes, people. So I'm just going to keep drawing the strokes like so, right down to the end. When you get to the end, feel free to increase the intensity or the pressure with which you press down your eye pencil. It's supposed to be darker at the edge, so you might want to increase your grip or the pressure with which you press the eye pencil on the brow. So do you see what we have? You come to your arc, and then you make your arc more defined, as I am doing right now. I'm purposely defining the arc. So the arc is the highest point of the brow at the edge. So I'm defining the arc and I am done. So when you're done with that, you now brush upward. When you get to the end of the brow, you brush it downward to align. So I am done drawing the brow. Now I'm going to start concealing. So the next thing I'm going to do to these brows is to conceal underneath the brows, and to do that I'm going to be using this LA Girl concealer in the shade Fawn. It's my perfect shade for concealing my brows. So I'm just going to squirt that onto my palette. Okay, so I'm putting a little bit on my palette here. Yeah, and I'm now going to conceal underneath. So like I said, I'm going to really try not to speed this process up. I'm going to make sure you guys get the most of this. So I'm just going to use this. This is a concealer brush. It's angled. These angled brushes are sold in the market. They are really cheap. At most 150 you could get a really good angled brush. So I'm just going to dip that into the concealer. Alright, let me drop my mirror and hold this up so that you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. So I am dipping it into the concealer that I brought out, and I am now going to use it to conceal underneath my brow. So let me see if I can come a bit closer. I don't know if that's close enough. And now let me start concealing. So when concealing underneath your brows, you don't want to go too close to the brow, because you know, since we are doing this on a sculpted face, there is every possibility of damaging your already sculpted face, because the face already has foundation on it. So you want to try and be very careful while doing this. Very, very careful. So I'm going towards the edge, the place where my arc is. When you're doing this, you want to try and bring your concealer brush upward a bit to give the brow that perfect shape that it needs to have. As you do it, you brush down the rest of your product. By product, I mean the concealer you used. Brush it down with the edge of your brush. Just do it very, very slowly. This is not a process you want to rush. I don't know if you guys can see the part of the brush I'm using. So now is the time to conceal this part. Now this part is very tricky. I don't want to use my mirror to cover. You use the angled side of the brush and then you bring it all the way down. To the end of the brow. So keep brushing your products, that's the concealer, right down till you've covered that part of the brow. So as you can see, we've given the underneath the brows the shape they need, and I'm just going to use this brush. Let me see if this brush I have here to blend out my concealer. This brush is from e.l.f. It's a really nice blending brush, and I like it because it's also angled. As you can see, it's angled, so I'm just going to use that to blend it out. While blending it out, it's not out of place to dab it a bit in your concealer and just blend out totally. Don't worry, if you're scared that this is going to spoil your foundation, it really won't. The concealer is matte, so it's going to dry and blend in with the powders you used for your sculpting, so it's perfectly fine. So now I'm going to go ahead to highlight the top of the brow. Some people think that because you're doing it on an already sculpted face, you don't need to highlight the top. It's not true. You need to highlight the top of your brows to make them pop, if that makes any sense. To conceal the top of the brows, or to highlight the top of the brows, I use my foundation shade. So that's the foundation shades that I mixed right here. I used Dabel Cosmetics in 507 and Fenty Beauty in 390. I mixed the two today. So that's what I'm going to use. I already mixed them, so that's what I'm going to use to conceal the top of your brows. So when concealing the top of your brow, you want to be really careful. Like, this is not what you want to mess up. You want to be really careful. So as you can see, I'm holding the brush upward like this. You don't do it this way or this way. You hold the brush up, so my hand is up, and I'm holding the brush this way to conceal. So you start from here. You don't come here to start. You start from somewhere here, and you just press it lightly. So now is your chance to give your brows whatever permanent shape you want them to have. If you want them to be big and bulky, this is the time to do that. If you want them to be small and tiny, you bring it down. But I like my brows bigger, so I'm leaving it as is. As you do it, you bend the brush and smooth it out. So what you want to do is this and this. If that makes any sense. You know, drawing brows is actually therapeutic for me. Something I really enjoy doing, both on myself and on clients. So you want to come to the edge. Like I said, you do that and you do this, okay? So now the tricky part is at the arc, okay? The arc is quite tricky. So when you get to the arc, you turn your brush this way and you go this way. Do you see that? You see that? It's the part where you turn your brush. I'm not saying you can't do it with your brush the other way. I'm just showing you guys the way it goes, like the way I like to do it. That's the way I hold my brush that actually works for me. So now when it's time to bring it down, I keep my brush at that angle and just bring it all the way down and align it with the bottom. So I always like to go back and check. You know, we may be makeup artists, but we're human. so we tend to make mistakes too. So I'm just going to check and make sure the brow is what exactly as I want it to be. As you can see, I'm trying to correct small errors in the brow. Tiny errors that you probably can see as you're watching this video. That's what I'm trying to correct right now. And then I'm bringing it down because I want the edge to be a bit smaller than it is. Boom! So now I'm going to conceal that top with my brush. I'm just gonna dab, 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 dab. Like I said, it's going to all blend in. When you're done with this, you get your powder palette and reapply powder to the top, so it doesn't look so obvious that you drew your brows after your foundation. You also apply powder at the bottom. I'm going to show you guys shortly what I mean. So as you can see, we are basically done drawing the brow. Another thing I like to do is to use my brow tamer. Brow tamer is, this step isn't a do or die, okay? But why I like my brow tamer is it just lets the hairs on my brows sit really nicely. This brow tamer is from Dabel Cosmetics. It's sold for 1,800. I sell it too. So if you need it, feel free to contact me. So as you can see, do you see what the brow tamer is doing, you guys? Like, brow tamer is one of a kind. I dipped the spoolie wand into the gel. It's a brow tamer gel. So I dipped it, and now it's just letting my brows lie flat, if that makes any sense. So that's just what I'm doing. Now, another thing some people tell you is you go in with your brow pomade. Brow pomade is another kind of thing. It's used to make your brows darker, but because I'm not really looking for a very dark brow today, I'm not going to use it. But you could if you love dark brows, so you could also use that. Let me see if I can find what I'm talking about here. I have one right here. This is from Hege and Esther. That's what it looks like. So some people go in with a brush and apply this to the brow. I'm not going to be using this today because it makes your brows really dark, and I want light brows today. So the last and final step for drawing brows on a sculpted face is to make sure you set the parts you concealed with powder. And to do that, I'm going to be using my Dabel Cosmetics powder palette. So I'm just going to get a brush like so. This is a powder brush. Oh my god, my phone is ringing. Sorry guys. I'm going to use this to apply powder at the bottom. I'm using a lighter shade of powder. I'm using this shade for the bottom part of the brow, and I'm just going to dab that all over the parts I used concealer on. And then the parts I used foundation on, I'm going to go a bit darker. I'm going to use this shade for the top, this shade here. So I'm going to use that here. If you are an individual and you don't own a powder palette, please feel free to use your regular compact powder to do this step. It's the same thing basically. So yeah, and you are done. Okay, so I'm just going to do that to the second brow, finish my makeup, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, so I'm done with the rest of my makeup. This is what I came up with. I didn't really want to do heavy makeup since I'm going to work, but I hope you guys learned a lot from the brow tutorial. I wanted it to be as detailed as possible. That's why I didn't want to rush it. I just took my time so that you guys would learn as much as possible. So if you enjoyed this video, kindly give it a thumbs up and let me know what else you'd want to see me do in the comment section. I also want to appeal to you guys. If you're new, you're welcome. welcome to the Nitty family. Subscribe to my channel, tell others about this video, share the video if possible, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.